Hello and welcome to the next 100 Days podcast. My name is Graham Arrowsmith.
And my name's Kevin Appleby. So, Graham, have we ever had a proper doctor on the podcast before?
Well, yeah, because lots of people got PhDs, but this one has got a proper, I suppose it's a medical doctorate. And because he's a doctor, and it's Dr. Anton, all the way from South Africa. Dr. Anton, welcome to the next 100 Days podcast.
Graham and Kevin, thank you for having me.
No,
Notice there that Graham doesn't try to get his surname in here because Graham is famous for getting the guest's name wrong.
Well,
long reel of outtakes of Graham doing that.
No. What is interesting over the next few weeks of recordings, Anton, is that we have people with multiple names, and I was like, Graham Arrowsmith, easy. To you, on the other hand, have Dr. Anton Janse van Rensburg. I've more or less got that right.
Yeah, that's very close.
And I think presumably Janse or Jans is that your original name, or did you get all these in a lucky bag? I mean,
I got the whole package from birth. So it's Jans. It's old German actually. It's okay. The son of Jan from the town of Rensburg in 1650 or 1670. So it's Janse van Rensburg.
Janse van Rensburg. Okay, well, I'm close enough. So, you're not only South African, you got a bit of German in you as well. Crikey, what's going on? Kevin, it's like the League of Nations on this show this morning. But no, seriously. But you are a practicing medical doctor. So do you practice in Pretoria?
I do. Yes, I have a practice here in Brooklyn, in Pretoria. Okay. And I have been going at it close to 27 years.
Oh, wow. That's, I mean, without delving too deep into South African, what's happening in the country, it's not exactly gone well for the country in the last two or three decades. How do you keep your head above water when it seems that the rest of your country seems to be having problems?
Yeah, it's such a good question, actually. And the answer, without going too deep into a rabbit hole, is actually multifactorial. But I think the first thing I need to say about South Africa is when you look at it from outside and you see all the political turmoil, it's difficult to actually see what's happening on the ground.
Yeah.
And what's happening on the ground is the following, is that, and this is now coming, obviously, with all the biases of being a South African living here, having lived here my whole life, never lived in another country ever, is we have the friendliest people on earth, and people who grow up in difficult circumstances because we have a very large, poor population. And you know what? They are friendly, they are resilient, and we have the loveliest weather to just go with that, especially here in Pretoria and Joburg. We have the best weather in the world. I mean, I have I nearly have to only take out a jacket a few times during winter. And then in summer, it doesn't get too hot either. It's just, and we are hopeful that this country has got so much to offer.
Yeah.
I'm one of those hopeful. I mean, I sometimes get criticized for being positive and being hopeful that
I'd rather you be like that, though. I mean, because, even looking out, you've always had just a stack of resources. You've clearly got a lot of people, but they do need some guidance. Otherwise, shall we say, the malcontents will have their game. And I just think, for me, that there needs to be a recognition that a different sort of governance might be required to put you back on the path that you should be on. You're the equivalent to any European nation in terms of potential, but you're not.
Yeah, absolutely. We need a whole new leadership reshuffle in a bad way. And some people say it should have been there 10 years ago. You know, it doesn't help to look to the past. Let's look to the future. We're really hoping that with our next elections now, we just need honest people. Can we just start there? Have honest leaders. I would love that. Because then all the resources that the country has, and we are stacked with resources. Let's just agree on that.
Yeah.
that the resources will actually benefit the broader populace.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to that, and we can leave that there. But basically, in this country, you as a medical doctor, you found your clinical practice focusing on a particular range of issues. The one that Kevin suffers from most is burnout because he's always at it. You're burnt out now, Kevin, aren't you? Really? Although I've got to say, I felt like I was burnt out yesterday. I just when you have the heat and you just can't get stuff done, or the day before yesterday, you have all that heat for us, can't cope with it, and you've got work to do. I found it really difficult. I found it really difficult to get work done that day. But I don't suppose that is burnout. I suppose burnout is when
Burnout is when you've just been plain so busy, so stuck into stuff that literally you stop functioning.
is
And
that.
I think I did go through that just a few weeks ago. There was so much going on in so many areas,
Yeah.
and I've deliberately stepped away from a lot of things just for any bit and recovered from it. But I'd love to know
Yeah.
Anton's perspective on that.
Well, he's going to give you a medical diagnosis on the podcast, Kevin, and then he'll send you a few pills and with a few £1,000 as a bill. But tell us more about burnout, Anton.
Okay, so burnout, from my perspective, and I think it's important to maybe give a little bit of my own history, and maybe where in my early career where I actually had a pivotal experience when it comes to the concepts of burnout. So I actually, in my early career, was in leadership in an organization, and it was a very unique position, and it was in a very unique organization that built remote site clinics in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my crossroads experience was being the person who was responsible for a clinic. It was a remote site, construction site in Maputo in Mozambique.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, this is the year 2000 now, 2000, 2001 through to 2003, for a 3-year stretch, they were building, it was the most adventurous construction project in the history of construction. Most expatriate workers from South Africa on a construction site ever, about 9,000 of them.
Wow.
But here's the issue. In the most dangerous malaria-infested area in the world, in the heart of Maputo. And oh my goodness, to be the person responsible for the health and well-being of 9,000 workers who are exposed. You must remember now, malaria, there are different types of malaria. About 4, but the most dangerous one is in Mozambique. You can develop cerebral malaria within 48 hours of contracting this illness. And that was for me was crossroads, to be the guy where the buck stops, the guy carrying the can, and just driving in at 5 o'clock in the morning from South Africa into Maputo, and then going home on the weekend, some weekends not going home. And in a facility that was meant to be a construction first aid center, ending up diagnosing 30 to 40 malaria cases per day, having to evacuate people via aeroplane, having deaths, and things like that. And for me, that was, I think it informed where I ended up years later, coaching company leadership with regards to things like burnout. You said the thing burnout, because I did everything wrong. I was a young man, and I did absolutely everything wrong in that period of time, trying to cope with this unbelievable amount of stress and things just going wrong. If they could go wrong, they were going wrong. And so burnout for me, obviously there's a very strong emotional component here, but burnout has got, if you look at a human, I think the best way to describe it is we are multifaceted. We are made up of so many different things. We are made up Physiologically, we have got many different things happening in our bodies. That's why when you go to the doctor, he doesn't send you for a single blood test. You get this expensive list of whatever. And that is the answer. It's many small things. And it's also emotionally, it's many small things. And the answer is the many, many little things that make up the whole of this person. And then also the answer to how do I reach the point of burnout is I neglected all those many small little things from rest. I mean, Kevin just said there now, you spoke about rest. And it's profound how these things actually then push a person to get to the point of where they are psychologically, they feel, I say, oh, I feel so burnt out. Where a person in his 40s, it's usually the mid-level managers, the guys that are climbing this ladder. Those are the guys that I see. They come sit there, or their wives bring them, and they come and slump into that chair. I should maybe have a slump index, how they slump into their chair. You know,
Yeah. If they were presenting at your surgery, these symptoms, and it strikes me that you've talked about why it happens, but so far you've not figured out, or you've not shared with us your approach to resolving that. Is it the Kevin approach? Just have, turn off, rest, decouple yourself from some things you don't need to do. What is it like? Almost like a list of remedies, or is it your particular formulation for these people? Because you had a shed load of experience, so I'm interested in. I can understand why it's happened. Very good explanation. Not so sure at the moment how you're fixing it.
So we then need to look at all the small little things. So when they come and sit, let's maybe take it practically. They're sitting in my chair. So getting a good history from them and hearing, but exactly how did you get here? Yeah. And what are your work hours? And exactly what's going on at your work? And how are you resting? Are you taking time off? So that I can start with one of the main fixes, which is, how do you rest? And not just how do you rest on going on holiday. People think holiday. It's the worst way to approach this. Is when am I going to go on holiday? It's absolutely horrible. I stop them right there, say, no, I want to know. What do you do at 10 o'clock in the morning? What do you do at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? And what do you do at 5 o'clock? And then before bedtime, what is it that you do? Those mini respites that actually, in my opinion now, are probably the big ones. Those are the big boys of how you can. Do you take a nap? Do you take a 20-minute power nap? I mean, I've got company CEOs that go to their cars in the basement because I told them to go and have a 20-minute shut eye. They don't even, some of them don't even sleep. But that then is where I come in. And then I talk about, hopefully the wife then is with him. Many times they're not. Then I speak about connection, believe it or not, because research is profoundly clear about the fact that your connections, your warm connections with your very close people, with your friends, and with your colleagues are profound when it comes to longevity and with burnout and resilience. Right. So then so you see the process now. So I go for the lowest hanging fruit first. Is what are you doing on a daily basis? Do you take a day every week? What are your connections? And this is now before I launch into the physiological tests.
So you've asked for a description, like a diary, and various points in that diary.
That's it.
But then do you get prescriptive and say, Kevin, at 1 o'clock, I want you to go and have a nap?
That's exactly what I do. That's exactly what I do. And if your office is an open plan office, if you have an office that can close, then go and buy yourself a little gym mat with a little pillow, and tell your staff that if you hang do not disturb outside your door, you are having that 20-minute
Yeah.
respite, and people can train themselves. I've done that with myself
Yeah.
because I've got my practice. I still am involved in businesses. I'm still in leadership in businesses. So I literally, but you know, I'm fortunate. I've got an examination bed in my office. So I,
Yeah.
I just make good use of it, and I've trained myself to sometimes between patients I've got 6 minutes, and when I feel that slump in the afternoon. There's nothing wrong with a slump, by the way, Graham. Nothing.
Yeah.
Humans have what we call a circadian dip in the
Yeah.
afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Use it. I use it. Mine is 18 minutes. I've timed it literally to be 18 minutes.
Yeah.
And when people practice this, they actually find that they've got a sweet spot. It should not be more than an hour. I highly recommend that people don't do long
Yeah.
afternoon naps. It's not a good idea.
No.
But then I become prescriptive, like you said now.
Yeah.
Now I start saying, okay, but are you spending enough time with your wife? I'm now speaking to you about what I know is going to change your outcome.
Yeah, no, well, I'm sure my wife's just outside. She might be overhearing this, so I'll be saying, "Oh, I'll spend a bit more time with you, love," but maybe not. But you know, if she goes to the football with me now, so that's more time together, and so you know, that's another thing that we do now. But as far as those naps are concerned, when I found myself doing that, I've said to myself, I am tired. It's maybe because I'm getting on. I'm in my 60s, and basically, you know, I'm just tired. But like you said, I've heard that thing about don't take any more than, I don't know, 20 minutes or so. Just have a power nap and then cut it and go but I don't set a clock. I just wake up. Is that something, or should you set a clock? So you know, alarm on your phone or something.
Yeah. Well, it depends on how open your afternoon is. I would recommend setting a clock because I think some people are so exhausted. If they let themselves go, they'll sleep for 2 hours. And long-term research is actually against more than an hour power nap. It's actually not good for your brain to sleep more than an hour in the afternoon. You do want to limit it. If like you now, you've now figured it out. You
Yeah,
can wake up by yourself.
yeah,
But most people rather should set a clock.
right, got you. So okay, so I'm, I, I said that you were a bit burnt out, Kevin. You're not. I mean, I'm sure. But what you said though, Kevin, is that you looked at some of your work priorities and you've kind of like ranked them out. You've just said, I'm not doing that for a bit.
Yeah,
So is that was your approach?
that was my approach, was to take out a few things that were causing a problem, that were stopping to get there was a bit of stress going on because of some things that need to be done that weren't getting done.
Yeah.
So it made sure they did get done.
Mm.
And I think I took a little bit of Anton's approach. It wasn't necessarily the nap in the middle of the day, but it was walking away from the desk more often, not just sitting here. Because I found that one of the biggest symptoms of burnout is that you had a stack to do and you
Mm.
just sat there. And because you had so much to do, you actually did nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reduced performance.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. That's interesting because I know you too. You have great output. I would say far greater than mine. I seem to take things on, and I'm just about to do something else to take something on, and it's got a bit of a scariness, but it's a bit like, you know, Premiership footballer wage versus what I'm doing now. I mean, is it worth putting a bit of time into it? Maybe it is. So basically, it's that kind of approach. So even at this late stage in my career, I'm thinking, all right, let's give it a go. But I'm conscious that you know, there are things going on in my medical history that might give me, and I'll have to manage that.
That's exactly it. Yep. And also it's age, you need to be age appropriate. So there are tests that you would do now that you maybe didn't have to do when you were 35,
Mhm.
but now they become more important. And also your history of working hard and also your personality. I mean, how much of a driver are you? How much have you cracked the whip on yourself over the years?
Mhm.
Then inform someone like me, should I maybe add a few extra tests here just to check?
Yeah.
How depleted is this person?
I do. This is no criticism of South African medical attention, but sometimes it feels that it's very much I seem to get some help because I'm diabetic, and I do get some sort of regular interventions. But anything else,
Well,
like looking at
that
medical.
Graham is a complaint that I've had about the approach of the medical profession, certainly in the UK,
Mm,
for a long time. You know, they see, oh, Graham Arrowsmith, he's diabetic.
mm,
We're on this pathway. Okay.
yeah,
And we're looking at things like that. Saw this in particular with my father-in-law, who is a long-term heart patient. He went anywhere near hospital with a pain, it was heart.
mm,
And they seemed to miss so much as a result of just going down that track.
mm,
No,
That's
they didn't
that's
take a kind of a whole body view of what's going on here.
yeah. What is interesting, Anton, you've mentioned it a couple of times that you you look at a battery of tests almost. And it seems it's that seems to be the difference, and it's probably, I don't know, you can almost excuse it, but it's probably because they've got overwhelming pressures on their resources, or at least that's what they'll probably say. Could they be organised a bit better? Maybe we should import you into the National Health Service, and to get them to do things right. But look, there's lots of really good people there. However, we do spend an extraordinary amount of money on health in this country, and well, as you know, we're importing lots of people that we don't need, and basically, there are some things that are putting extra pressure on the health service, and so I don't know. You've focused on burnout. You've been on that construction site, loads of malaria issues, which would have given you personal pain. You just everything's going off. But you've also done some work in terms of mood disorders. I reckon I've got a mood disorder, but
You mean you're a grumpy old git?
well, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm never knowingly without a radical idea, but one that's probably going to get me in jail at some stage. But especially in this bloody country. But the truth of it is that mood disorders. I mean, first of all, what are they?
Yeah. So it's a very broad stroke description for my brain chemistry is not optimized. And there could be a host of reasons for that, because I mean, we are chemistry, we are electricity. And if I have a mood disorder, it means that there's no stability in all the symptoms of how my brain chemistry affects me. How does my brain chemistry affect me? Well, I could feel sad at moments. I could have cynical thoughts at moments. I could have a random, serious, negative thought that maybe I could be even surprised. Where does that now come from? Now, chemistry is that powerful that it can affect you like that. And what people also don't know, Graham, is that I can feel tired because of abnormal brain chemistry. And this is where it becomes very interesting. When you say, when I do the standardized 9-point questionnaire to determine if someone's got low serotonin, the famous mood hormone. They used to call it the Prozac and chocolate hormone. But anyway, the famous mood hormone, serotonin. Then one of the questions you have to ask a person is, do you feel extremely tired? Do you sometimes feel like your limbs are heavy? That could be a mood transmitter, neurotransmitter um, symptom. So I hope I've answered your question, because
Yeah.
it's a good question. What is a mood disorder? Oh, it's so many things. Because
Do you,
so many things are affected by it.
do you feel that I don't know, it might be me because in previous decades that both Kevin and I have lived in, it wasn't so apparent that these things were going on, but we were younger, and there may have been older people who did suffer from stuff like that. But it just seems to me that younger people now have these mood disorders, or they persuade themselves that they're a different gender, or which is I see it as a medical problem. That, and basically, for me, there's almost invented ailments. I mean, have I got that? Is that just another wild idea? But or is it? The truth is, it just seems to me that we're almost falling apart at the seams, and we don't really need to. Or have I got that wrong? Is that what's your perspective on the on mood disorders and all these disorders that people seem to be having, but they seem to be having them more often?
I think your statement does follow the scientific trajectory that we are seeing more of it. We have more problems. I think in younger people, I think a big problem is their access to social media. So now, instead of parents informing their children with most of, or books, quality books in their homes, they are being taught and mentored by random other individuals. And when I look at some of these social media profiles, those random other individuals make the hair on my back stand up.
Yeah,
right. And just imagine that some of those people are now the mentors, and they are not that whatsoever. So I'm not surprised that it is happening. But also we have a more sedentary society. We are the most sedentary society in the history, and that will affect your brain chemistry. Full stop. Case closed. We know that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Anton, because I was listening to on social media, I was listening to Elon Musk talk about potentially the way in which AI is going and stuff and things associated with that, that in maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years, what's going to happen is, well, he was saying that you don't need a pension. Many people just won't have jobs, but because robots and everything else are creating the value, I'm not sure how that's going to get distributed to people. but the point is, people won't be quite as active in terms of work. They won't have any meaningful work. Does that present for you? I mean, because you're not that old, so basically over that period, you might still be in medical practice. Can you see a situation that is, well, I look at it and I'm thinking, God, what's going to happen to us?
Yeah, I'm concerned. I'm deeply concerned. When we chatted earlier on in our discussion, we spoke about retirement. We spoke about, slowing things down. I've been on this bandwagon for many, many years when I started seeing the research that shows if you want to die quickly, then retire completely. And it doesn't sound good for people because they're like, oh, I've been waiting for that never-ending holiday.
Yeah.
And it's actually meaning. And this. I'm so glad we're onto this topic because the topic really is meaning.
Yeah.
Meaning is just so we can speak for hours on this wonderful thing of what did I do today that created meaning? Did I contribute? Did I do something that changed someone's outcome? And that's, I'm concerned about that. And firstly, I agree with you. I don't know how on earth the people who are running these AI things say that now everyone's just going to be happy and everyone's going to be better off.
I'm not sure I heard that, Anton. I heard that they're just not going to have jobs. I don't know whether they'll be happy. They might have some money to.
They said it's going to be better for everybody. I've heard people speak like that. I cannot make that connection whatsoever.
No, me.
No, I think you come back to this big thing of purpose. What's your purpose? And purpose is so often related to what you do on a day-to-day basis. It's related to your job. It's related to what you do. And if you're in that situation of having no job, then what is it that brings the meaning? And that's a huge problem to figure out.
No, that's massive. And you see that with people who've retired. And I've got some people in their 80s and 90s that also come to my practice to see, what else can we do? And my biggest recommendation for them is, what are you doing in your day-to-day? Are you consulting? You were a consultant I had a person here the other day, he was a consultant to the in international political affairs. And I told him, but are you consulting? Are you training young political analysts? Why are you just sitting on your little veranda I know it's very comfortable, the lovely sunshine and all that. That is making you old. You are aging at an alarming rate. Get out there. I'm not saying get an 8 to 5 job, but get purpose back into your life. Volunteer. But I like the concept of training younger practitioners. Is something I like to do. Whenever I get a call out that they want me to go and speak at the university for the new first years in the medical faculty, I'm there like a bear. You don't even have to say twice. I do it for free, and because I just see we can do so much with these young people. But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole now. But the point is just we're on the topic of purpose. And what's going to happen if people lose more and more purpose because so many jobs are being replaced by AI? This is a genuine concern.
I think yes. And
I think there's something else besides purpose, though. When you're in the workplace, when you're doing stuff the way we do, there's always something new around. There's always something to find out about, to do differently, whatever. Something new to get involved in. When you hit that retirement space, the rapid occurrence of this new stuff goes away. And I think that's part of the problem.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be exposed to that, and to be exposed to new challenges. Because I mean, at the end of the day, part of meaning and purpose also means being challenged. A muscle does not grow if the muscle is not challenged. It's the same with brain activity and your brain and keeping your brain healthy as you get older. What are you doing to challenge your brain? I think that's intertwined in this whole discussion of purpose and meaning. People lose that. And I mean, it's just human nature to want to avoid challenges, avoid these types of things. But it's exactly what we need, because it's exactly under these pressures that we then come up with such unique solutions. My stretch at that construction site, I would never want that ever again. But I'm so grateful for the experience because I can draw from it.
Yeah. We remind our daughter, who had a pretty tough first job with a law firm, who threw her in at the deep end, and they were quite mean to her and all the rest of that. But what a baptism of fire! But now she's doing so well in a bigger, better firm, etc. But that experience really made her. But I wanted to sort of switch a little bit to the fact that you've run something in the region of 6,000 coaching sessions. So basically, you will help, and we've talked about making the CEOs, take a nap or do things slightly differently, understand what they're doing. But you're in a coaching session. Who are you talking to, and what do you hear, and what do you recommend typically?
So I'm speaking to two distinct groups of people. Firstly, it's the first group are people that work for a company, rather put it this way, that work for a company that had the foresight to send them to someone like me, or to send them to an organization or a broader clinic where they consult. They draw me in as a consultant, and there's a team of people that also help, a biokineticist and a psychologist, and I'm part of the team there. And then the second group are individuals who are in leadership, who know about me, and they religiously, on time, every year they come for their 1 hour session with me, and I send them for bloods beforehand, and I send them for stress ECGs beforehand. And then they come and sit with me, because this is what I need. I love all the information. And then I start speaking to them. It's beautiful just to talk to people. And this is where you need time. Doctors need time. And this is the complaint that all people have always had with our medical profession, is the moment you remove the magic of time from a consultation, you start missing things. So I have a philosophy in my practice. When you come for your annual medical, it needs to be minimum, and I don't even like the minimum of half an hour. I can work with 45 minutes, because then I want you to start talking, because then I look at you while you're speaking to me. We are all all humans are very intuitive. You don't even have to be a doctor. But now, if you've been a doctor for nearly 30 years and you know how to read people a little bit better, maybe, then I'm like, how's your wife? How are your kids? How's work going? You are going to pour cues onto me in that time.
Yeah.
That by the time I get to your bloods, I haven't even read your bloods yet. I've already got an idea of some abnormalities that maybe will be present, or let's say your blood pressure or whatever it is that I'm going to do, because I'm now still going to examine you fully and look at all your, your statistics. And but it's that warm interface of being able to then sit with a person for enough time. I cannot overstress that.
Are you the kind of South African Cleveland Clinic then? Is that the sort of idea that, people go into these sort of wealthy clinics where they get all this battery of tests and so forth, but you're also access, a top end doctor who basically is going to talk to them, but also, figure out what's going on in their life, because the actual statistics are kind of pointing in a certain direction, and you can actually help them over the next year.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that I'd love it if you were a doctor that Kevin. I mean, we would probably benefit, especially with certain medical conditions that I have at the moment. It would be, and without being too selfish on that point, the one thing that I've noted in the last year that I've done is get very, very fed up with pharma solutions to problems that I'll take one particular drug, which is metformin, which basically I've had for 25 years. Now, is there an alternative? I mean, and people think then there might be, but maybe it won't work as well. But I've had it for 25 years. Is it really working? Are there certain things presented in my life that are a side effect that I don't really notice because that's become me? So the big criticism I have of medical people is they don't have enough time to examine what they've done to me over a period to help them make better decisions over the next period. It's like, oh, you're on metformin, leave that. Oh, in fact, you've got a problem with your blood pressure, give them another pill. It's that not only worries me, it annoys me, and I just don't know how to fight back with, because, not having the research and even the LLMs in the world, they'll couch it in language that, your medical directors, your medical person is the best person to talk to you, but they're not. I rarely see a doctor.
You are just saying so many things that are so relevant in the day that we live in. So I cannot tell you how many patients I see in my practice on multiple, we call it polypharmacy, on multiple medications over the year. And no one's ever had the time to really delve in there and say, how about we start pulling back a bit? But there's another reason why guys don't want to pull back, because they're scared. Yeah. Us doctors, we're one of the few professions that we sort of work a little bit of the sword hanging over our heads all the time. There's a stress component here. But this is where, for me, where the way I do things, having time with my patients, where it's so important, because now you can do something beautiful. You can take all those medicines, and there are all these free tools available now on the internet, not just AI. They were available pre-AI, where you can run an interaction check. And then lo and behold, the symptom that the patient came to you with is a known side effect of the medicine that no one's wanted to change over the years. Or the problem that the patient came to you with is a drug interaction with a drug that was just added because the previous doctor just didn't have enough time. There was too much stress, too much pressure. So now, instead of removing something and replacing it, we are rather, to play it safe, we are adding. So now you've been on this drug for 25 years.
Yeah.
How about we sit down and say, stop. Yeah. Let's rethink. Let's challenge what is going on here. We have to, what is the newest research on insulin resistance? What can metformin do? Is there something better than metformin to do this? Is there something maybe natural? Because, think about this. Most people also realize now, but there are natural products that have now reached a quality level in 2026 that it can actually replace the medicine.
And I would personally feel and I wouldn't mind paying a bit more money, but I would personally feel a lot happier if I could strip out pharma, because sorry, I don't want this to become personal to me, but basically one of the things, I think this is a general point that a lot of people resonate with, but the issue that I have with pharma is that things like metformin don't fix you. You're just in. They're not gonna cure the problem. I think they'll call it manage the problem. And that's who wants a manager?
That's exactly.
I worked in corporate. I mean, Kevin worked in corporate. You've worked in corporate. Who wants a manager? That's why I don't work in corporate. I don't want a bloody manager. So, I have my own boss, the one that stares back in the mirror. So the point is, I think I would rather trust especially to, maybe a healthier eating, or whether it's burgering or whatever it is.
Flip that around a little bit, Anton. What part in all of this is nutrition playing?
Okay, so there you hit the nail on the head. Us doctors, Western trained MB, doctors, get trained that diabetes needs to be managed. No lecturer has ever told me this is how you reverse the type 2 diabetic. Those words have never left the mouth of any of my lecturers. Yeah. And now, after nearly 30 years of medical practice, I've seen reversals of diabetes. And I use, and the word is integrative medicine. You do use medicine, but you use it in combination with the diet. And diet has changed. Our understanding of diet has evolved significantly. I mean, this is probably one of the biggest leaps that we've made forward, is to stop fearing fat. And I'm diving right into it there by saying that, because it's fat. It's obviously focus on the healthy fats, but don't be too scared. The healthy fats like avocado, olive oil, nuts, but people get stuck there. Having the fats, if you are a meat eater, apologies to the vegetarians, but the fats in meat aren't horrible. They're not going to kill you. They're actually going to do something together with all the other fats. They are going to, and here comes that mic drop moment. They are going to reduce your cravings for the refined carbohydrates that's driving your illness and keeping you going on that illness. The only way to see if a person has the capacity, because not all people can be reversed, but to see if their pancreas and the cells in their body can function without medicine, is to put them on an extremely low refined carbohydrate diet. And the only way that you're not going to make that person go crazy is to increase the fat in their diet. And then 6 months later, something magical happens. They're fasting insulin, because you have to test the right things as well. Test the right blood tests. Don't just do a fasting glucose, not good enough. Test fasting insulin, test an HbA1c, which looks at 3 months control. It's literally magical. Suddenly the fasting insulin starts coming down. This person has more energy. They spontaneously start losing weight, the excess weight that's driving that insulin resistance. And they feel better. They tell you this. I'm getting there. Can I make my medicine less? And then very carefully, just not for the listeners now, very carefully then slowly start lowering the medication whilst monitoring the blood glucose. I mean, this is why I use these 2-week CGMs. You measure your blood glucose with a continuous glucose.
Whatever it is, somewhere on one of these arms, I've got one of these things.
Yeah, I see it. There's your CGM. Yeah.
And that's measuring every day. But going back, before actually I met Kevin, I did something called the Sure Slim diet, but it cut out all carbs. And I wanted to go horseback riding in Texas. We went for a holiday out there. And I looked at the horses, said, well, somebody of your weight, 19 stone, and I've got really big, and you're not going to, there isn't a horse that we've got that you can keep so you can watch them, you can't get on them. So and after, I think it was 5 months, if that, 5 stone later, I was a different man.
Yeah.
And it was because I cut out carbohydrates, but I'd love my steak, I'd love my fish, I'd love my cheese, but you'd only have a little bit. And the beauty is now I'm thinking, oh, try again, or at least adapt that logic and try again. And so we have been this week. We've been trying to. But what we've done, Anton, is we've taken a photograph of the meal, put it into chat, GBT, and said, how many calories? Because my dietitian next week wants to know how many. I don't like counting calories. It's bloody hell. I'm not a dietitian. I just eat stuff. So basically, but what I found is it takes a look at the picture and said, well, you have this. And there's a little bit of a dusting of, I didn't mention the sugar because I kind of also gave it a bit of an idea, but you got a bit of dusting of a white powder. I think it's not cocaine, it's just bloody sugar. But and it was a low fat sugar, So basically, anyway, and it will give you a pretty accurate view of calories. Yeah. And what we've found is I'm having too many even now. So basically, I know what's going to happen next week. Become a monk. Don't eat as much, and I get it, but what can I say? That's next week's problem. But it is. I mean, is that one of the things that with your coaching sessions of people you deal with? Do you talk to them about calorie counting?
No, I dislike it tremendously.
Good. I'll cut this out and take it with me.
Oh, it's just so against human nature to now. I'm actually very anti being too restrictive.
Yeah.
So I literally in one breath tell people we are going to replace some foods to reduce your craving for some other foods whilst having fun and enjoying life and making you feel like you are winning here and everything is. So literally I prescribe you. Do you like dark chocolate? I ask them. You have to eat 2 blocks of dark chocolate. Here's your prescription for dark chocolate after your meal. Because these restrictive diets, you know what happens? Your brain doesn't forget. Your brain's quite vindictive. Doesn't forget. It's going to come and get you after that diet. Just watch. 6 months.
Yeah, I know. Well, the thing is that my doctor at the time loved him, but alas, he went out to Perth, Australia, and but he said, Graham, what have you done? I'm not really supposed to give you this because you have to pay for it. I said, well, let me have a look at it, and I went and photocopied it, and he then, because he was quite a big chap, he then lost a shed load just before he went off to Australia. Now, I don't know if he's listening to this but anybody who knows, no, I'm not even going to mention his name, but the point is, he was a great doctor. Really, he'd tell you exactly what you needed to know. But he was also not above, anyway, he used the same diet and he lost a lot of weight as well. So I don't think there's any magic. Cut out carbohydrates and you'll lose a shed load. But in fairness to me, I never went back to the highest level. But I put a little bit back on, maybe a stone and a half. And I was like, okay, that's okay. It's a score draw. So, from my point of view, I'm trying again now. That's the point. Anyway.
Yeah, just to get back into it and to stay with it. I think that's important. Make it a lifestyle.
Yeah, we've talked about nutrition now in a specific case, looking towards Graham's diabetes, insulin problems, and so on. What about for the average person? What's your advice around nutrition for sort of somebody who hasn't really got a long-term condition?
Yeah, I basically tell them what I just told Graham. So I hope they took notes. Because
they can watch the podcast. That's the purpose of the podcast. They don't need notes.
Scrub. You go. Do use the rewind function.
Yeah, could do.
I do that for everybody, and here's why. I would like to tell a very nice story. So, because I also see people with mood disorders. A young man sat here in my practice about 4 months ago, and he has a family history of mood disorders. He has a severe history, been admitted to mental hospitals many times. So some people just have a propensity. We have to just also agree on that. Like some people have a propensity to have high cholesterol genetically. And then some people with their brain chemistry. And he was having a really, really big dip, and they were considering another admission. But they stopped themselves short of another admission because the previous admission produced a very long prescription of multiple psychiatric medications, which he felt horrible on and took him years to get off of. They sat in front of me and I started analyzing his diet, and I just saw carbohydrate after carbohydrate. And you now linked it to diabetes. The bigger link is mental wellness. If you want to have stable mood, eat fat. The brain loves fat. The brain does not like refined carbohydrates. Now, sorry for the guys that are regular alcohol consumers, but alcohol is the most refined, the most potent carbohydrate. So I had to then speak to him about his alcohol consumption, which wasn't severe, but it added to the package of pasta and rice and potatoes and bread every day. And because he's got a propensity, I told him that your diet probably someone else would have gotten away with this, but you will not survive. So I put him on a severely reduced carbohydrate, higher fat diet. I immediately give people recipes. Now, the recipes in today's day and age, surely you can't struggle to find a recipe. Just ask ChatGPT or go on Google and find the websites that have low carb recipes. Now, here's the clincher. This is such a beautiful story because it really happened on the one hand, but it just changed the person's life. 48 hours later, the person who brought him phoned me and said, I cannot believe what I'm seeing here. Is this even possible? To go from near admission to a mental health institution to someone who's saying, okay, hang on, I'm not there anymore. I'm not in that deep, dark place where I was. I'm starting to come out and see the light again. Because we are what we eat. And for this person, it's just a little bit more of an issue because of his genetic predisposition, but that removal of those refined carbohydrates. So my children, my kids know that you want to have messed up mood, messed up energy levels, then let's have pizza tonight. But just remember, tomorrow I'm going to ask you, how are you feeling today? Are you having fun? No, Daddy, we're not having fun. Not feeling so great. Oh, okay. No, it's good. Good to do a test every now and then.
Yeah. Well, look, Anton, Kevin and I know we could talk to you for the rest of the morning. For our listeners, you've just been treated to an amazing doctor. I have so much respect for the stories that you've told, the rationale for, and the fact that you listened as well as shared. You can find more about Dr. Anton at his website, which is doc, Anton, so docanton.co.za. And so that's how you'll find him. Do you have any parting comments for Kevin and I?
So I think people need to stay connected to all the small things in their day-to-day lives. Be connected to your food. Be connected to your people. Be connected to your sleep, your little habits, because those are the things that are going to change how you feel this evening and tomorrow and a year from now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Anton. Thank you for joining Kevin and I on the next 100 Days podcast.
What a refreshing approach, Graham.
Wouldn't you just love to have a doctor like that?
Yeah, but I think Anton just caught the whole thing there, that it's time. No? When do you see a doctor? Normally because there's something wrong. And you go and you get your 15-minute appointment. The doctor sees you very quickly, takes a look at things. Oh, here's a tablet.
Yeah, sadly, that is the case. I'm sure a lot of doctors in this country really would not like to do that, but I don't know if they have an option. And Anton's given us maybe a little look through the window to a place that hopefully the best of our medical people can move toward. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to get us there. There's so many people drawing resources from the NHS. I just don't know what's going to happen. And if you're fortunate enough to enable so you can afford a Cleveland clinic or Harley Street or whatever, that's a different game. But for the majority of people using the NHS, then I think it's status quo, Kevin.
Yeah. But I think given a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of research, listening to people like Dr. Anton, you can these days do an awful lot for yourself.
Yeah.
You know? You talk about nutrition. One of the things I love listening to is the Zoe podcast, where they relate so much to what's going on in the gut microbiome, the
Oh, right.
importance of eating 30 different plants a week and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
And they cover so many different aspects of medicine on the podcast. It's absolutely fascinating. There are resources out there if you want to get into this stuff.
You've gone from 5 a day to 30 a week, Kevin. What's going on? I mean, with different ones. You'll be like a sheep or something grazing in a field. But anyway, on that note, today I've been Graham Arrowsmith.
I've been Kevin Appleby. Goodbye.
Goodbye.